Welcome back to the channel. This is my second video apparently, but it really isn't. I made a video recently. It's called Accepting Jesus. It's still on YouTube. I made another video after that one. It got taken down. Lord help me, it got taken down. I've never had a video taken down on YouTube before. Never. I've got hundreds of videos. I'm allowed to talk about the craziest, dumbest shit on the planet. But if I talk about Jesus or the fact that your planet's run by lizard people or something, it's all I mentioned. It's the only things I mentioned. I literally mentioned that. That's it. That's all I mentioned. It got taken down. And you might not agree. That's fine. But best believe freedom of speech ain't real. And you know you're on the right path when you're dealing with that shit. It ain't some like, well, it might have been some kind of, oh my God, dude, I'm going to hit you in the fucking face. I'm going to punch you in the face. Punch you in the face. How ignorant can you be? Oh my God. I really hate it. I understand. I was ignorant. I could not accept Jesus all the way up until recently. I accepted God, Satan, all this shit. Like I could accept all of it. But it just took a certain point for the Jesus part to kick in. I will admit. And honestly, I kind of felt like God purposely did that. Like he left a bunch of signs throughout my whole journey. I'll even talk about it in a minute. He left a bunch of signs through my whole journey that Jesus is real, and I ignored it. I'll give you an example. I have a story. I learned everything I know from a guy named Kevin Trudeau, the billionaire. Now, I hate this because I can't remember the other Kevin's name, who I'm about to bring up. Kevin, I know I have it written down or something somewhere. I know, I guess it's really shitty of me. But anyway, my story in my life, there's a story of mine where I left the hood of St. Louis, gang members, literally trying to get me in a gang. I'm in the hood of St. Louis. I took my backpack and my dog, and I knew I had to walk to Michigan. Like I literally left my house with the intention, because God told me, to walk to Michigan. Like that's 2 fucking states away with a heavy ass backpack and a little dog. So I was obedient and I did. So when I left, I walked under the arch and it was trippy because I was living with a guy named Andre. And when you go to the arch, the name Nick is inscribed on on one of the sides of the arch like 30 times. Somebody went N-I-C-K, like they did that like 30 times. Nick. And on the other side was Andre. It was Andy. It said Andy, which is funny because I have a story about me going all the way to France and meeting a guy named Andy. And then I live with Andre, and then I'm leaving his house, Nick and Andre, or Andy, whatever the fuck, on this arch. So I'm literally under the arch, which is the gateway to the west. 333. That's my journey. I'm mostly earth signs in my astrology chart, so it just seems, so for some reason, mountains, hills, geographical locations, physical places, somehow have power and resonance with me, and I go there for some dumb fucking reason. Anyway, so I left the gateway to the west. I have a long story that involves me getting a job in Illinois where a guy named Kevin, who happened to have God's hands on his hat, the little emblem. You ever seen that tattoo of like prayer hands? You probably see what I'm talking about. Anyway, I had a wallet with the Lord's Prayer. So ignorant. I'm so ignorant. Still didn't believe in Jesus or anything. Lord's Prayer on my wallet. I walked to Illinois with my dog days on end when I felt to go work at Denny's. So when I went into Denny's, there was these 2 black guys that were twins that had been working there for 30 years. The guy who was going to hire me, my boss, not the boss, but the guy who's going to hire me to train me, he had God's hands on his hat. Only God can judge me. I have that on my wallet. Ain't that trippy? Think about it. Like, you're the guy who hires me. If you do, you're going to be filling up my wallet. Like, you got the emblem on your hat. The authority. Anyway, so I get the job Miracles happen. I didn't even have to pay for it. Full price, I get a car. And I drive and I go to Michigan and I have this magical experience where a lot of crazy shit happened that I have to cut off and end it. Anyway, that story continues. Eventually, it leads me driving to Florida. And when I made it to Florida, I remembered people at Waffle House back in Missouri, this girl used to call me Ducky out of nowhere. Didn't understand why. In the Florida Keys, there's a Duck Key. There is. In the Florida Keys in Florida, there's a Duck Key. So I made it to the Florida Keys. And when I was in the Florida Keys, I had to battle demons. Like a video game. Like a video game. There was demons in people trying to block me from getting to the key to the west. Whoa. Are you telling me that I lived a life where I traveled from the gateway to the west and made it to the key to the west? Yeah. I have a story where God took me from the gateway to the west and found the key to the west. And when I took this journey, you know, when you get there, you see further. Like I said, I saw Duck Key, and that's how I knew when I was in Florida to go to the Florida Keys. But when I saw Key to the West at the very end of the line, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so I remember one of my missions from God was to make sure nobody killed my dog. I know that sounds so weird. I know I'm kind of tangenting a lot. It's going to get to Jesus in a second. In fact, I'll even show you it. If I can grab it fast enough. I should have my knife in here still. Whoa, what happened to you? Don't mind my butthole. my ass crack. I mentioned it's an ass crack. Oh, sorry, I was fucked up. Oh, wake up. There it is. All right. I know I'm tangenting everywhere, but I had to protect this dog. When I was given this dog, long story short, I was given this knife by my buddy Jake. And when I got it, this is called having eyes to see and ears to hear the gifts of God. You'll be able to, you know, even Alan Watts talks about it. You know, look where your eyes look and take your legs, let your legs take them, let your legs take you where they take you, or whatever the fuck he says. You're going to have moments where it's just kind of it's like an autopilot. Let it happen. When I looked at this knife, I saw, like I was given the knife and a dog in the same moment, and I'm an earth sign, so material realm, I'm able to understand spiritual understanding through material realm. That's what I learned through looking at my astrology chart, as well as just experiencing life. I'm made up of so much fucking earth signs. My sun, Mercury, Venus, earth signs, earth houses, my north node, all of it, Mars, all of it. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars are all in earth houses and earth signs. And I got other earth placements, my north node and everything. So a lot of earth. So in my life, I'm able to look at rocks, items, objects, houses, locations, names of buildings, the way the buildings are like placed, and get downloads from God. Because there's no accidents in life. So anyway, I was given this knife and a little dog in the same time. And when I looked at this knife, I saw right, R-I-T, like a ritual, like right, O, and a star. That's how my brain read that. Let alone the checker panel here. But I read right, O star. Right of the stars. That's literally what my brain did when I looked at this knife. It was a contract. It's a contract. Stab the dog. I'm just kidding. But no, I mean it. I got this knife with this dog, and I knew I was meant to take this dog somewhere. I called him Buddy because I couldn't think of a name because I knew he wasn't my dog. It was a journey to protect this dog from getting killed. But when I read Right of the Stars, I Googled that, and it took me to a game called Right of the Stars. And I've never played it, but when I read the description of the game, it talked about challenges, and one was by fire. And I was like, oh, I literally did that one. It was telling me my mission. Weird, I know. Anyway, so I ended up having this dog, and everywhere I took it, people would try to kill it. When I left my mom's in Missouri, she literally said, don't kill the dog, don't kill the dog. it's not my mom who's talking. We're talking about dark spirits. You know, blame the sin, not the sinner, kind of thing. You know, this is Holy Spirit versus everything else. So, anyway, so yeah, these dark spirits were monitoring me and following me everywhere I went. And so when I left Missouri, I will never forget, my mom was like, "Don't kill the dog. Don't kill the dog." And then I made it to Florida. And when I was walking down the street, this one chick, I think I was actually getting gasoline. I think I was literally getting gasoline in a jug. And when I was walking by, her demons popped out, and she's like, "Your dog's gonna burn!" It's like, just like, you ever seen I Am Legion? Where the old lady's like, "Your baby's gonna burn." This lady would not shut the fuck up about my dog burning. "Your dog's gonna burn. Your dog's gonna burn. Your fucking dog's gonna burn. Like, she just starts out of nowhere saying that. So, I, eat dick, bitch, and I walk away. And then I met this guy who was a crackhead who I needed money. I trying to beg, 1111, trying to beg in the Florida Keys, brutal. I'm near multi-million-dollar homes. It's a one highway to get to the end. There's only one main highway that goes through the Florida Keys. So trying to make it with my dog, and at this time, I have my car and everything. It was so difficult. There was a couple of times where I almost abandoned my car, and that some cop ended up. I know I'm tangenting so much, so it does. I guess I just like telling the story. But the point of the story is that it was so fucking brutal. I had demons in people saying my dog's gonna burn. The next day, I'm barely a couple of miles down because it's so difficult to make it. I meet a crackhead who's a narcissist who's obviously possessed by a dark spirit. I mean, it makes sense. You're doing low vibrational drugs and you're a narcissist, so therefore this has been plaguing you for a long time to get you to this point. Anyway, so all this is happening. I meet this guy. He does the love bomb thing. He gets me a meal, and I ended up getting caught up in cigarettes. So I did get addiction from this fucker, from hanging out with him, which, goes to teach you about hanging out with bad company. But anyway, I did. I avoided the crack. I was like, I'm good. I don't need crack. Kept trying to offer me crack. Would not take it. Really, really getting pissed off that I wouldn't take this crack. And we were at a job site because the idea was that he'd pay me gas as long as he took me to places because he was a mechanic, so he could work on vehicles and stuff. And so he was working on this vehicle, and, he had some beers in my car and stuff, and he would keep saying shit that was obviously him saying out loud the truth, which is, he was like, let me treat you like my boy. He just told me his boy killed himself or whatever, like a few weeks or a month ago. No fucks to give at all. And so he's like, let me treat you like my boy. And I'm thinking, the one that's dead. He's just saying things that are obviously about me dying indirectly. And it got to the point where eventually he said something like, "Your dog can swim?" I was like, "What?" He said, "Can your dog swim? Can your dog swim?" And I was like, "All right, that's it. I'm gonna go." He goes, "No, what's wrong, bud? No. What's wrong, bud?" And he walked up to my car. I said, "Listen, dog, I'm leaving. You already told me." He literally already told me. He was trying to use guilt trip. He's like, "Man, I already got paid. It's all good. You can leave anytime you want." Like, he was talking like that. But once I actually committed to leaving, he was like, "You want a beer?" He's like, "Man, don't leave. You can have those beers. You can have them in my car." I was like, "You want your beers? Bro, I'm leaving right now. You want your beers? You want your beers?" And it finally got to him that I'm leaving. I don't give a fuck what you're saying next. And he grabbed his beers. He was like, "Fuck you, dude." He literally was like, grabbed the beers out of my car and was like, "Fuck you, dude." And then I left. And then I made it all the way through the Florida Keys. I met another guy who was a preacher who told me he cut off his own fucking finger because of the demons in his head. He fucking cut off his own finger. Like, think about how crazy this is. I'm just driving through the Florida Keys. A lot of people would probably have a story about the Florida Keys where they went scuba diving, and they ate at a restaurant, and then they went home. My story involves a bitch talking about my dog burning. Your dog's gonna burn. Next guy, hope your dog can swim, buddy. Next guy, preacher, I cut my own finger off. I on drugs. It's like, holy shit, what are all these people popping up for? Like, think about how crazy that is. And you might say, well, there must be something in you to be manifesting these people. Yeah, the Lord, Holy Spirit. Like, I mean it. Positive love and peace and joy. And these are the fucking things coming at me right now. That's really what's happening. These are fucking demons and monitoring spirits that were following me the whole way. It didn't matter how many thousands of miles I drove. They were following me the whole way. So when I finally made it to the key to the west, guess what the key was? Guess what the key was? I met a guy named Kevin. Again, Kevin Trudeau, Kevin with the hat. This other Kevin is like a Christian. He believed in Jesus. And he sailed from Italy on a sailboat, a tiny little coffin-sized sailboat. And he made it to the Florida Keys. So I had a journey from Missouri and, all the way to I went west somewhere, and then I ended up going down to Texas and then to Florida. And then anyway, made it all in. Anyway, so I had myself a long-ass fucking journey like that. And he had to go from Italy all the way to the Florida Keys, and we met at the same time. And even when he saw me, he spotted me from a mile away. He literally ran. I was sleeping in my car, and he woke me up and scared the shit out of me. He's like, hello. Thank you. He was like, hello. And I knew when I met him, this is a guy who I traveled and battled demons to meet. I had to sit here and battle demons trying to burn my dog, drown my dog, all kinds of crazy shit, just to get here. And when I met him, I remember the first thing that happened is when we were talking, every time we talked, we hung out for a few days. I hung out on a sailboat. He told me the horrors of what it was like to sail in a tiny little coffin-sized boat in huge storms, and I was just imagining that, because I love sailing. It just sounds beautiful. Just my imagination was going wild. Anyway, I can just see me holding on to a bowl. Come on, read it! Fucking storm and lightning. Come on! Holy, that's a big wave. Anyway, so I loved it. Anyway, I loved it. But I will admit, when I was talking to him, we would be sitting there I remember there's a and guess where I met him? Denny's. The only fucking Denny's in all of Key West. There's only one. There's a Home Depot across. If you know where I'm talking about, you know where I'm talking about. There's not a King Soopers or a Safeway, but it's something it might be a Safeway. There's one of those stores right next to it. I literally have a story about leaving the gateway to the west and then having a journey where I ended up meeting a guy with the same symbol that's on my wallet and on his hat. Only God can judge me. And my hat and my wallet said the fucking Lord's Prayer. Named Kevin, gives me the job. Long story short, I get a car. All that leads me to the fucking key to the west to meet a guy named Kevin at a Denny's. What? And he's worth about $10 million, and he's a writer. And if I really thought about it, I could probably think of his name, but I can't right now, which I'm sorry. Got something in my eye that's been annoying me this whole time. Anyway, ain't that crazy? That's my story. It was part of my story. And I was so ignorant in accepting Jesus Christ that I didn't even care. I literally let that shit I made it all the way there and battled all those demons just to go, there's nothing here. It's so fucking ignorant. Yeah, nothing here. Look with this knife away. Anyway. That's funny, come on. That's funny. Talk about ignorance. Made it all the way to the key to the west to meet a Kevin at a Denny's again. I meet another Kevin at a Denny's again. I mean, I was sleeping in front of Denny's. I could spit twice and hit it. If I could step there and I could throw a rock and hit Denny's. That's where I was. Pick something up and just gently throw it and hit Denny's. And he popped up between me and the Denny's. Outside my car. And his sailboat was behind Denny's. There's a little river pathway, a little creek, river, whatever, stream that connects to the ocean. So his sailboat was parked behind Denny's, and I got to sleep in it, which is really cool. Ain't that cool? I was like, you know what? Even though I had to battle a lot of shit, I am in the Florida Keys, sleeping in a sailboat behind Denny's. It's like, this is my life. That's it. My life got interesting. I'm so cool. I'm so happy. And it did. It got interesting. I was like, oh, it got interesting. That's cool. No more meth heads. Well, no, that's not true, but none of that shit at the moment. It was really cool. Anyway, when me and Kevin would talk, oh my, you have no idea. Anytime we would hang out, demons were everywhere. Like the shit that you don't even see or believe in or give a fuck about at all. Believe me when I tell you, when you walk down this path enough and you start doing God's work, these fucking things start getting pissed. And they don't really understand what you are. I was watching The Passion of the Christ, and when Jesus died, there's a scene where Satan was like, before Jesus died, it's actually in the very beginning, it's Jesus sitting there in the woods. Satan is like, who the fuck are you? Like, there's a moment where Satan's literally like, who are you? He was curious because he didn't know. It says in Gnostic texts that Satan, when he first came into this world, when he was created by Sophia and was tossed, Sophia created, there's a lot going on in the whole universe of creation. So when I talk about Jesus, it is important. Is there more going on than all this? Oh yeah. But right now in the world you're stuck in, this is the pathway that you should take. Anyway, but in Gnostic texts, a goddess named Sophia created something without a connection to source, without a connection to God. That was Satan, and was tossed into this realm. And when Satan arose, became aware, whatever way you want to put it, it actually thought it was the only God. That's why it was nicknamed the God of Fools, or the God of Foolishness. God of another way of wording that. The foolish God, the foolish one. It's literally nicknamed the foolish one. Now I ain't lying. Satan's wise as a serpent, they say in the Bible. Be as wise as a serpent, as gentle as a dove. But no, Satan is intelligent. I'm not denying any of that. I'm just saying there's a lack of awareness outside of his realm, and that lack of awareness stays here. So that's why when you're born here and whatever. But and we have a connection to God, so you can learn things. You have a connection to source, to your emotional guidance system, so you can learn things. But anyway, he didn't know who Jesus. There's a lot going on that he's unaware of. And so if you have the divine spark within you, you're following Jesus, you're connected to higher powers. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't. Like these demons and these children and offspring of his, they don't understand what the fuck you are. So I got to experience that because I'd be hanging out with Kevin. We'd be like, all right, let's meet up tomorrow. So I'd wake up, I'm outside of Denny's, and he'd get out of a sailboat. He'd walk up. Out of nowhere, there would be like 15 or 20 different cars now all of a sudden pulling in, and people would be getting out of buildings, and they'd start staring at us. Which makes sense that it would happen in the Florida Keys, where people have lots of money and probably didn't commit themselves to something holy or higher powered, and they just kind of fell into the material world. Kind of makes sense. You bought your multi-million-dollar house. And when I was there, I realized, 23, these people suck. Like they do. I would never want to be these people. Like I realized how valuable I was at that moment, 23, 32. I realized how valuable I was because I wouldn't want to be any of these people. Minus the dark spirits that were even if the dark spirits weren't there, the fact that they're there is an indicator that this is, it's a big factor in your life. It's not about what you have, but who you become. And if you're harboring these dark spirits, who you become you haven't achieved that. Yeah. Anyway, so we'd be sitting there, and I remember there was this time we're talking, and he literally was like, do you see these people? Because he has eyes to see and ears to hear too. Now, I haven't accepted Jesus yet, but I have been following the path of God, so I got all these gifts of discernment and whatnot. And so, we worked the same way. Like, we would move the same way. In a sense, when we go to a store and we know what items are ours, we would know. But yeah, me and him, when we were hanging out, all we could see all day was demons. Like, I remember one time we were standing there was literally a guy that drove around in his car, and he was going, like left. Took in a left turn. 2442. Literally, there was literally a guy just doing that in his car while driving. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is reality? I don't know if that's too much for you. It might be. Apologize, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, we would just see him all day. Everywhere we went, we'd be seeing him. And we're in Dollar General. You could see it. Like, we'd be in line, and some chick be like, that'd be $4.32. And the girl be like, here's the money. Fucking cash. And, like, they'd leave. It's like this behavior. I don't know what's going on in the world of these people. I don't know if they just don't remember. I'm going to assume they just don't remember, because I can't imagine you going through that and not going, what the hell just happened? But anyway, yeah. I just wanted to tell a story because my last video got deleted because I talked about Jesus and lizard people ruling the world. And I'm a little pissed. So we're going to try to post this one. But think about how ignorant I am. I couldn't accept Jesus. And you know what happened after that? I left him, had no money. This whole journey was brutal. They say when you're talking to a fellow brother in Christ or whatever, that you'll never know all the brutality and the challenges that they had to go through to get where they are. I'm not kidding. I believe it now because I've gone through a lot just to get here. When I was leaving, and there's from the Florida Keys to the next actual city in Florida. So the Florida Keys are like that. And then here's the whole thing of Florida. There's like a vast area on the highway that's just open fields, like a savanna. And so when you run out of gas there, you're pretty fucked. Anyway, well, I ran out of gas there. And I was walking, and, Good Samaritan came by and helped me out and all that, and filled up my car and whatnot. But when I was walking on this vast savanna where there's like nothing, there's no houses or anything, I found a wallet. Now, remember, if I listened to my story earlier I told you that this story involves me leaving the gateway to the west, having a wallet with God's hands on it, meeting a guy named Kevin with God's hands on his head that says only God can judge me, getting a job, getting a car, going all the way to the Florida Keys to go to a Denny's to meet another Kevin. Right. And when I left, I found a wallet with Jesus on it. It's somewhere in my bag out there. It's really decayed. It's got Jesus like with his hands out. So yeah, that happened. Still ignorant. I was just saying, 27, you can ignore them all day, I was just saying I kept doing it. Like, as a person who reads in the material realm, I'm able to look at a knife and understand what I got to do, but I can't look at a wallet with Jesus on it without going, eh. How fucking ignorant can you be? It's so crazy. Anyway, yeah, no, that happened. No. Oh, and Kevin also told me he died. The Kevin that I met at the Florida Keys, me and him both have an experience of dying. In his world, he had his throat cut. He had a big scar in his throat. Kind of makes sense. They say something in the Bible about people being beheaded or something like that. For those who, I don't know. I'm not trying to discourage you. I have been threatened by demons to cut my throat like 3 or 4 times. I've literally had moments where people got possessed and basically were like, yeah, that's gonna happen to you. That's you. Don't listen. I don't care. Anyway, but yeah, Kevin got a big scar on his throat. And he told me what happened was people broke into his house. He was rich, right? People broke into his house to rob him. And he would not tell him where the money was. He refused to listen to... Who do you listen to? Oh. He automatically succeeded. It kind of came from a place of greed, I think. But because he still listened to the rule of who do you listen to, you don't listen to evil. When evil talks, you don't listen. You might hear them, but you don't do what they say, ever. No matter what. I don't care if they're threatening to kill your kids. Because if you understood the reality you lived in, you would never listen. If you really understood the video game that you live in, if they were like, we're going to blow your fucking little girl's brains out, and you don't do what we say, you wouldn't do it. And you would watch as it all worked out. Like this guy did. So in his world, and hopefully my phone don't cut out while trying to tell you this deep secret. In his world, he refused. Refused. Fuck you. Ain't doing anything you say. One of the guys who was robbing him got taken over by the Holy Spirit and was like, I know what you're doing. Like the weirdest shit you could ever hear. And then he got his throat cut and he bled on his couch. The ambulances came. He remembered bleeding all over that couch. When he came back from the hospital, there was no blood on the couch. Like it didn't happen. There was like something about it where the video game glitched. And it didn't happen. But it did, but it didn't. And you might be like, oh, that's the stupidest, craziest story I ever heard. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. When you get to where I am, you'll believe all that shit with ease. Like I said, this world isn't real. It's not real. Anyway, I really hope you find. I hope this doesn't scare you or anything, because I'm fine. See, I'm perfectly fine. Made it all the way here. I'm perfectly fine. A lot of threats. Oh my God. And when I made it up here to New York, I met another guy who got his throat cut. Like, think about the chances of that. I literally drove from Florida to New York right when I made it up here. The first, well, I'm not here now, but when I first made it up there, it was trippy. Just kind of had an insight. Anyway, right when I made it up there, yeah, I met a couple guys drinking beers. They had, like, one guy told me he went crazy and he, swore his life to the devil or something and then tried to kill himself. And he had, like, a big old scar on his throat. Just random guy at the park that I'm talking to. And I was like, okay, well, have a good one. Anyway, so right when I ended the conversation, they both changed on me. They both got taken over by dark spirits and kind of gave me a little wink, in their own little way. I guess I'm not going to sit here and describe it all, but all right, let's wrap this up. This is a little too much. Yeah, I'm a little upset that my last video got posted or got taken down. So this video I'm posting. Hopefully it doesn't get taken down. I love you. Keep like and subscribe. I'm going to keep posting more. Yeah, you're not shutting me up. Best believe.